Hello, this is Adam Began, and I'm the host of Historically Haunted Show, where I talk about some very rare historical and haunted locations that I visited. I also interview some of the very best in the paranormal and cryptozoology field. So tune in every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Paranormal King Radio Network. And prepare to be educated about the unknown. Hey, historians, welcome back to another great episode of the Historically Haunted Show, right now live on the royalty, on the King Radio King, King, Paranormal King Radio Network. See, I am buzzed after all. Paranormal King Radio Network, of course, the one and only place my homie Ross that runs the whole ship here, gives me control. Every Friday, live from 8 o'clock till 9. I have a great guest this week. We have someone again. I'm kind of sticking to the, as you can tell, we had Ryan on last week, and we've had a couple of cryptozoology guests and UFO guests, and I think this is kind of fun. Mixes with the paranormal and history. It's under one umbrella. So we actually have the other co-host, as we said last week, of Monster Radio Podcast. She's also on Wednesdays. We Talk Weird, talking about a bunch of everything from just modern trends and movies and shit to serial killers and everything in between. And she's basically she's I hope I say this right. I always get 14 FORTEAN, a 14 investigator. That's like a cryptozoologist, which she also is as well. So she's like a jack of all trades, so to speak. We're gonna get right into it. She's a filmmaker too. Hopefully a novelist soon. I can imagine she'll be an author or something. We're gonna dive into that. Let's bring on, without further ado, Ashley Hilt. Ashley, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hope I didn't miss anything there. Glad to have you on.
I literally do everything, so it's fine.
I can just say that she's a jack. Yeah, I said jack of all trades. I guess that covers everything. So I'm going to ask you right away. I usually start this segment on. We're going to roll later and get to know you a little bit better, but I want to kind of hit you with a hard-hitting question right at first and say, how did you get in this field? What turned you on to the monsters? I guess your all-time favorite Mothman, and just the whole field of sorts. Like, what really got you into this? Was it a movie? Was it just in your family?
Sure. So actually, when I was, I think I was probably in the 6th grade, we used to have these things that we would read in social studies class. They were like little mini, I don't know if they were like Time magazines or like Life magazines, but in it there was an article about, it's actually about Ray Wallace. And Ray Wallace is kind of infamous within the Bigfoot community because he faked a bunch of footprints. And one of the set of footprints that he had faked were actually the ones that were found at Bluff Creek that tipped Roger Patterson to go out and film the Patterson-Gimlin film, the famous, Patty footage. And so anyway, I was reading this article. I was reading the article and I saw the famous, Patty still frame, right, of the Bigfoot looking over her shoulder there. So I went home and this was, forever ago. So I got on the internet and decided to look up the video. I'd never seen it before. And so after about a week of downloading this video, because that's just how long it took back then, I finally watched it. I watched the Patterson-Gimlin film, and it blew my fucking mind. I couldn't believe that anybody on this planet thought that was a fake video. I just couldn't. And, I was just hooked ever since then. There was also a website that we could get onto, actually at school, that was just something basic. We'd have typing class, and then we'd have like time afterwards where we could do whatever. And I'd get on there, and they had like little articles about Nessie and the Chupacabra and of course Bigfoot, and it just kind of started from there. But I didn't actually get into it as a career until 2019, and that's kind of where the Mothman story kind of kicks off. I actually, Mothman is not my favorite. I didn't choose the Mothman life. The Mothman life
really
chose me.
Choose the Mothman life.
Yeah.
Well, that's gonna bring me to my next question. And Ryan is in chat. Your co-host. He says, hi, what's going on, guys? He shared the Monster Radio link in chat, guys, the YouTube channel. Be sure and check that out. Ryan was a great talk. We talked to him last week, big a bunch of horror movies and stuff. So that's cool. So that brings me to my next question. Then I guess I'm staying corrected. If Mothman isn't your go-to, who's your number one? I'm dying to know. Then.
No, that's okay. So I like things. Mothman's not really. I'll start with this. Mothman's not a cryptid. I know it's crazy. I know people are gonna riot in the chat, and that's fine. You can, but he's not. A cryptid is defined as just an undiscovered species of animal that we have a lot of anecdotal evidence for, but no actual hardcore physical evidence. So as far as cryptozoology goes, yeah, and Mothman's not that. He's not. He don't live here. There's no Mothman nests. You're not going to find him anywhere. But I was into cryptozoology. That's what started me in this. I didn't believe in the Mothman when I started Mothman research at all. Actually, it's very skeptical.
Really?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it took a series of events that led me to who I am and where I am now. But
no shit.
My favorites are anything that can fly and anything that can swim. I'm a big fan of the Thunderbird. I'm a big fan of, pterosaurs. Modern day pterosaurs.
Yeah. What's the other one? Champ, like the champagne monster.
I love Champ. Ogopogo's one of my big favorites. Caborosaurus, that's another big favorite of mine. Yeah. So because I think that these animals, right, and those things I believe are animals. They're very good at avoiding us because they're in places that we're not. Again, the sky and the sea. We're not there all the time. So I don't know. I just like them a lot.
That's you like the air and the sea creatures, and I can kind of dig what you're saying about Mothman, because some people think it's a crane. It could be almost an animal type thing. I wouldn't compare it to the Jersey Devil, so to speak. I mean, it's cool to look for. I've always wanted to go to. You must have gone to TNT in Point Pleasant and shit. Seen the statue?
Oh
you
yeah,
must have, right? Oh yeah, fuck, it's my go-to. My girlfriend Heather, my witch there. Her daughters. They both love, one's only 14, but she loves a Mothman, wears a Mothman shirt, and her other daughter Tia loves a Mothman. We definitely all want to get there. What's it like there at TNT? Do they still got the old school military forts that held the bombs and shit? I heard you can walk right in them, huh?
Oh yeah. There are over 80 of them. Right now 80? That whole area is there's over 80 of those igloos down there. Not all of them. Only one you can legally go into. The other ones are privately owned.
No shit.
Or actually, a lot of them are still owned by the government. So what it was during World War II, the government bought all of that land, and they put a munitions power plant there. They started making munitions out of Point Pleasant. So they built these igloos, these weird, concrete bunkers. They're just big concrete domes, and they started packing them full of these munitions that they were making. There are still munitions in some of them. Some of them are still owned by the government, and there are live munitions. In fact, some of those bunkers, and we're talking, they're 80 years old now, those munitions. Some of them have blown up. With the most recent being in 2013, they had an explosion down there because they're just leaking, into the ground there. It's a really treacherous place. If you do go down there, absolutely do not touch the water. Wear good shoes where your feet aren't going to get wet, because it is a cancer swamp.
Wow. So you could possibly still have mutated animals and insects and shit. I had no idea. Bullets never really die out. They're always, so it's kind of at your own risk. That's scary. It's like a minefield, so to speak. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and people.
I want to go camp out there, but I guess not.
Yeah. You could. You just have to know kind of where to go. Some of it is owned. So what happened when the government got rid of it? They purchased the land really late into World War II. It's kind of insane because one thing that we found out was that they were making these munitions, but they had no way to get them out of the town. So the Navy. So there is a point of Point Pleasant where the Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia all connect into one spot, okay? And obviously, that'd be a great place for military transport, right, for these munitions, except a week before they purchased the TNT area, the Navy sold their portion of the shipyard. So they actually had no way to get these munitions out. What they were doing with them, who knows? That's up for, speculation. But nowadays, what they did when the government decided they didn't want the area anymore in the 60s, they'd sold back a lot of the land to some of the families that owned it. So there are hunters out there also. They will shoot you. It is West Virginia. It can be a very dangerous place. I mean, you can't just go wandering out there. It's just not something that, I mean, there is safe places. Stop by the Mothman Museum. Ask them where to go. They own one of the bunkers. They'll tell you which one you can go to. You can safely visit.
Shit.
But it can be a very dangerous area.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, I think that's like that wherever you go, whether you're adventuring or ghost hunting, any place. You want to make sure you have permission if it's not your property. You want to make sure you kind of know you don't know what you're going into, and definitely don't go alone. And that's the number one rule too. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. But that's smart, and that's good to know, everybody, because that's definitely a bucket list. I've been to Virginia. I've been to St. Albans Asylum, went to Roanoke, and found out the Roanoke Island's actually off North Carolina. We got fucked on that deal. But I've never been to West Virginia, and that's my bucket list. So when I do go, I want to see the statue, go to the cafe, get the Mothman donuts and pancakes or whatever. But you go to the little historical society, I imagine you say right downtown or whatever. Is that what that is? That would hook you up? Yeah. There is
little There are a couple of places that you can go to, or you can contact me and I will tour you around Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So. Oh,
you actually live by there? I didn't know that. That's fucking dope.
I'm like 2 hours away, so it's not a big deal.
I literally, man, when we went down to Virginia, I wanted to go the next day. Corona was still kind of in the air, so it's like last year. And so now I kind of want to go. I just bought a new place, but maybe next spring or summer I'd love to go down. It's funny. Ryan says that he's the one that got you into cryptozoology. You actually believe that the Mothman is the one that took the bridge down. You believe otherwise, and he laughs now. Mm-hmm. So you don't believe the Mothman took that bridge down? That's what he's famous for, showing up at the bridge disaster.
No, Mothman did not take down that bridge. Actually, Ryan Tremblay took that bridge down. And Ooh. I'm currently working on a criminal case to get him charged properly with it. No, really. No, not really. In all seriousness, I don't believe Mothman is responsible for the Silver Bridge collapse. And that is, I know, a very unpopular opinion, because whenever anybody talks about Mothman, first of all, you're talking about the 66 to 67 flap that happened on the border there of West Virginia and Ohio. And it always seems to culminate in the Point Pleasant Bridge collapse. Well, that's not necessarily true. We know now that, that bridge collapse. Well, what we know now is that John Keel, he was the lead investigator on the Mothman sightings. He showed up, he kind of watched all this happen, and then he went and wrote a book about it, Mothman Prophecies, which became a huge hit, within this community.
Oh, that movie sucked, though. I tried watching it. I just what the fuck is this?
Absolutely terrible. Yeah, the movie is fucking awful.
Okay, you agree then? Because I didn't want to. I was like, maybe she liked it, but I forget who's in it. Not Kurt Russell. Who the fuck's in it? I forget the famous guy that's in it. I don't even know his name, but it's just Richard Gere. Yeah, and Richard Gere, and then they see the brake lights of the car, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
No,
don't waste your time.
Horrible movie. Yeah, it's not a good depiction of the events that even happened at the time. He's supposed to be the main character of the movie. Supposed to be John Keel, and it's just bad. Just don't watch it. It's just bad.
Speak the truth, girl. It's true. I mean, everybody's opinion is different, but it's definitely very Hollywood, and there's barely anything about the real Mothman in it. It's more of a bullshit story of him and her and brake lights of a car, and get the fuck out of here.
You don't even see the Mothman ever. It doesn't even, you don't even ever see it. So it's like, well, okay. But it's not a good story. But it's already based off of, again, and I love John Keel. Listen, don't get me wrong. I would like to think that I am carrying on Keel's work, God rest his soul. But, Mothman didn't cause that bridge collapse. John Keel's a great storyteller. He likes things to come to a conclusion. And it made sense for that to happen with the culmination of the Silver Bridge. But let me tell you something. These Mothman sightings never stopped and started in Point Pleasant. They never started in 66, and they never ended in 67. They've always been here. And that's the misconception that people don't really seem to understand, and that's what I am working to convey. You mentioned I'm a filmmaker. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I've got a Mothman documentary coming out called Sinking the Mothman. It's about that.
I can't wait to see it. That's killer.
It'll be great. And then there's just going to be a companion book to go with it, dating and showing all of these Mothman sightings that nobody ever talks about, because people only ever talk about the 66 to 67 flap in Ohio and West Virginia.
the greasy hair, the teeny bop kids coming back to go make out and getting chased. We all heard about the claw. One of the very first sightings actually happened in another state in a graveyard. Some grave diggers or something, right? Started in a graveyard, fly by.
It happened in Clinton, which is not very far from Point Pleasant. It is still in West Virginia with a lot of grave diggers, but that wasn't really.
Okay, so there's another one.
If you're going to kick off those sightings, it wasn't even that. It was actually a National Guardsman who was driving down the street who saw this giant human bird-like creature resting on a branch and didn't say anything about it until we were kind of more heavily into the Mothman hype at that time. He didn't come forward initially. There's not really. Think about it. People that aren't into this stuff, okay, which is most people, right? This is a very niche community. It's a very small group of people. Where the hell do you report things to? You know what I mean? There's no Ghostbusters, right? There's hundreds of us right? All around the country. There are a lot of us. But normal people that don't know who we are and don't know what we do, they don't know where to report this stuff to. So if they see a giant bird-man creature hanging on a branch, they don't know who to tell because they sound nuts. No. And who can?
Do I go to the wild game? Do I go to the fish and game guy? Do I go to my local psychologist? People are gonna think you're nuts. You go to the cops, or your family's gonna think you're on acid. You know what I mean? Who you gonna go to? Unless you're one of us freaks, the normies don't have a fucking idea. And I think the Native Americans have been seeing this shit. Like you like the big birds and shit. Natives have been drawing Mothman type shit on caves for years, back in the day. Cherokees and shit.
Absolutely. Well, that is one of the creatures that I talk about is the flying head, which I believe is Algonquin lore. And the flying head was basically this giant head with these big bat wings and these glowing red eyes. And guess what? Guess what that resembles? And guess how long that's been around? Forever. Right? So, again, these things, Mothman, it's not centralized to one part of the country at one period of time. It's just that people call it something different. They've seen the same thing over centuries. It's just that they call it something else.
Yeah, I think that if I remember right, I believe Washington State up there by California's got a Mothman type creature, and they call it something, but it's got wings and eyes and shit. And just like you say, it could be just a different species of animals that never died off that we just don't fucking know about. Just like where there are waters, we discover anything, So okay, we get some questions in chat. I'm sorry, sometimes I go off and I forget to look at chat. We got Witch and Heather Keviniti, my girl, joining us. Hey, Heather, thanks for joining us. Mike Davis in chat. Charles Fulton. Nicole Gaspard, also another radio host. Ryan T, of course. Melissa Keene. Of course, me and King. King actually asked you, he says, hey, Ashley, do you think any other creatures are UFO related? Oh, I lost the question because someone commented it. It flips up. Do you think any of the creatures are UFO related, or do you separate the two completely? Great question, King. Thank you, Ross.
No, that is a great question. And
you get it right.
I think, yeah, of course. I mean, Mothman obviously is probably one of the best examples. You didn't just have Mothman going on 10 days before the Mothman sightings took place in Point Pleasant. You had the Injured Cold story, which is another a big thing that I investigate because I happen to be in close contact with Tanya Derenberger, which is Woody Derenberger's daughter, who Woody Derenberger met Injured Cold. So for anybody that doesn't know the story, in November of 1966, and a sewing machine salesman was driving home from Marietta, Ohio to Mineral Wells, West Virginia, and he was stopped by a spaceship. And out of the spaceship came a guy. I mean, he just looked like some dude, and started talking to him, saying, hey, I'm from another planet, let's be friends. And from there kicked off a lifelong relationship. And the saga doesn't really end there. Tanya, his daughter, claims that Indrid still visits her to this day, and I'm very, very close with Tanya. On my own show, yeah, she's great. Her story is fantastic. It is an amazing story. But that's something that's not even a lot of people in like the Mothman Prophecies movie tried to kind of relate Mothman and Indrid and say that they're the same thing. Well, according to Tanya, who again talks to Indrid on a very regular, has grown up with this man her entire life, says that no, they're not related at all. They just happen to be happening within the same area of each other at the same time of each other. But Mothman's definitely not the only incidence of that. When it comes to Bigfoot, I'm a big flesh and blood supporter, right? I'm like, these are animals, okay? Except then you have instances like the Presque Isle event, which I can't remember exactly when it happened. I believe it was the 50s. I don't remember. But Presque Isle is like this little tiny island it's in Lake Erie, right off of Pennsylvania, but right outside of Erie, Pennsylvania. And there was an incident one night where a family actually saw a UFO crash into the woods. So there was 2 men and 2 women and some children, and the 2 men went to go investigate. And there were actually police officers that had stopped, and, they had seen that they were parked, like, hey, what are you guys doing here? They told them, we just saw something crash in the woods, come with us. And the police said, okay. They went to go investigate. They didn't find what crashed in the woods. However, they started coming back to the car because the women were screaming and honking the horn and just absolutely terrified. And they came back, and the women said that they were being terrorized by like a Bigfoot-like creature.
No way.
You've got a UFO and you've got a Bigfoot. And this incident was actually investigated by the U.S. government. It's in Project Blue Book. And it's a wild story. It's a wild story because you got, a little bit of everything at once. And, just kind of something that happens, a lot with a lot of things. And, it's unfortunate because it seems like it's only just now recently where we as investigators are kind of starting to recognize that there is a tie between these things, and they do happen like that sometimes.
Yeah, that's funny. The Project Blue Book thing, I watch a lot of that. I'm a big documentary guy. I love my Travis Walton, my Betty and Barney Hill Page. Hill. I say I got it right. I always say Betty Page, but she was an old stripper. Betty and Barney Hill, the abductees. So I always get her Betty. I always say Betty. I go Betty Page. You go, no, Betty Hill. But I really focus and I watch that, and that's interesting because I've heard a lot of rumors that the paranormal monsters, UFOs, they really are more than an umbrella. They're almost all connected to some sort of fucked up way. And Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch, Abominable Snowman, whatever you want to call them. Wow, that's wild. Yeah, it's flesh and blood. Okay, we get some more questions real quick. I want to get to them, and I got a couple questions of my own before I forget. We got plenty of time. This is going great. People love their monster talk, especially before Halloween. Ryan asks, because Ryan T asks, Ashley, is there a connection between the Mothman and the Flatwoods Monster of West Virginia that I know all about? I like him. He's a freaky looking motherfucker. Is there any connection, in your opinion, between them two weirdos?
There very well could be. So my opinion changes a lot, right? I've only been doing this full time for about 3 years now. So I'm still a baby, right, in the community. I used to think that there was a very heavy connection between them. But when you look at the Flatwoods Monster, which I'll go over that story real quick, just in case nobody's ever heard it before. I think it was 1954. It was September I believe it was 54 or 56.
50s, early 50s, yeah.
It was in the 50s, sure. There were two kids that were playing outside when they also saw something crash from the sky into the woods nearby. So they went to go tell one of the kids' mothers. And when they went and told her, and they kind of got a posse together. I believe there were 7 of them in totality. A couple of kids, the mom, a National Guardsman, and their dog that went to go investigate what this thing was. And when they went into the woods, they were met with this pulsating light. Pulsating red light, and they had a flashlight with them, or a couple flashlights with them, and they couldn't really see, except when the flashlight landed on a 10-foot tall creature that seemed to be dressed in kind of a metallic dress type of thing, with these giant glowing yellow eyes, as a matter of fact, and like a hood. It was so odd. So they all got scared. They all ran away. Some people say that the dog actually got very sick and died a couple of days later. What was neat about the Flatwoods Monster incident, though, was that, although it seems like an isolated incident, 24 hours later, there was a couple driving down the street. It was about 40 miles away from Flatwoods, West Virginia, and their car broke down. So while the husband's working on the car, they both smell this terrible, horrible smell, and they go investigate. Well, the husband goes investigates into the woods, and he sees this thing that's like half reptilian humanoid, from the top down to the midline, and bottom down, the middle down was like a metallic dress. So some people, seem to think that this could have also been the Flatwoods Monster. And then there's also a third person who, her and her daughter saw it. Her daughter actually spent a lot of time in the hospital because of encountering this thing, not because of anything physical, just emotionally. It was very, very nerve-wracking. And, of course, saying something like that would be. Is there a connection between and the Mothman? It's hard to say. I mean, again, I used to think that maybe they were directly connected. As crazy and as woo as it might sound, maybe there was some type of breeding going on. Maybe these things came here to drop off eggs. That's what the Flatwoods Monster was doing. And that's just because I assume it's female, just because to me it just seems female. And maybe that's where the Mothman came from. Maybe he stuck around because he was born here and that's what he was used to. I don't necessarily believe that theory now, but because they happen within such close proximity of each other and it's super weird. I mean, I can't say that they're not related.
That's a great honestly answer in theory. And for those of you interested, I mean, obviously listen to the show right now, stay in chat. After the show, Google images of the Flatwood Monster. I can see why you say it looks like a girl, because it looks like it's got like a queen cape on. It looks like Queen Elizabeth. Its arms are like spaghetti. It's got like a big teardrop head with these eyes. I've watched a documentary on the Flatwoods Monster, Tubi, and different things of these, and even YouTube's got little things. And I saw the Flatwoods Monster in Vermont. Because I'm a big cryptid guy, and it's funny that you say about them like meeting each other. I picture it as like, I mean, that's like saying, is the Wolfman and Dracula, the Bride of Frankenstein, related? They're their own monsters, but just they exist, just different realms. But who knows, man? They could all get together and have pizza and beer. The Flatwoods Monster and the fucking Chupacabra and the Wendigo, they're all at a fucking mixer every year, hanging out. I mean, the fucking Loch Ness Monster shows up and. Fucking, I mean, I don't know. I think there's a link between it. I think these creatures would know each other where they fight. That'd be epic, like Alien versus Predator, Flatwoods Monster versus Mothman over territory. Who do you? Oh, Heather, my girl, that shared a picture of the Flatwoods Monster in chat. This older couple, black and white couple. Not black and white, but black and white picture. Maybe you'd know this. Yeah. I know you're not in chat. But maybe you'd. It's a picture of the Flatwoods Monster. It looks like it's got a dress with the claws. I mean, holy shit. It's an old school one. 1952 picture. Heather's got it on Google. Flatwoods Monster terrified 6 kids. Killed an animal, it says. Oh, yeah. Flatwoods Monster's an evil-looking little... It's almost like an angel, but it's got like a teardrop cape type thing. Great picture. A mom and dog, the nation, and 6 kids. Wow.
That's a great picture. Because of the sighting, the Frametown incident is the other one, and actually, you can look up the picture of that sketch, and it's fucking horrifying. But the question is, the Frametown monster, was the Flatwoods Monster wearing some type of armor, some type of suit, and in the Frametown incident, was it not? Did it have half of that armor? And that's what it actually looked like. And what it actually looks like is fucking terrifying compared to what.
Oh my God. It's and that would scar a young mind. If some kid saw that and you can't compute that that's not something you'd see, that's literally one of a kind, let's face it, that would kind of fuck you up, man. Honestly, not trying to turn the thing on me, but I saw something yesterday. I went for a ride here in Maine. I moved up to Stephen King Town. Are you into Stephen King at all?
Oh, yeah.
I live about 45 minutes from Derry, Bangor. I go there a lot. I see the Pet Cemetery sites. A lot of it's on my YouTube channel, my page, which Heather just subscribed to your YouTube channel. My girl Heather said in chat. So you got another subscriber. I'll be sure and subscribe after the show. But real quick, long story short, I went to a place yesterday in the 1960s. A B-52 bomber crashed, and 7 out of the 9 Army lieutenants on there died. And the plane is still in the woods. There's fucking the cockpits over here, the wings over there, there's fucking bolts over here, there's tires over there. You should see it. And walking on this land is mind-blowing. It's on this Elephant Mountain in Maine. They literally had to make a road to get to it. In the middle of nowhere, can't get reception. And out there, the whole time I'm thinking about is this is Bigfoot shit. This is Wendigo shit. This is the shit where things dwell, right? I mean, these things don't hide in cities. Like the Nain Rouge in Detroit, they say he hides in Detroit. I think he's off in a almost like the Jersey Devil. He's not in the Parkway, man. He's in the swamplands, right? Or the wood, I'm sorry.
Well, right. Well, Pine Barrens is kind of a swampy, woodsy, weird. It's a weird area.
Yeah. They like to hide. I think they know that they're outnumbered. They know they'd be crucified. And I think they stay back for a reason. I don't think they're scared of us per se. I just think they see us and they know we're just humans are a destructive fucking nature, man. We're not exactly peaceful creatures. We try to be for the most part, but for the most part, we're not. And I think they see that. Ryan says you and him should start your own Ghostbusters. The number coming 1-800-MON-STAR. Monster. I mean, that's fucking hilarious. That'd be killer. I'd call it. I like that. Nicole asked a question. Nicole Gaspard, frequent listener. Let me see. Okay. She wants to know if you've ever seen a Bigfoot or Mothman or any type of cryptid personally up front, or do you think you've seen?
Yeah. Actually, that's where it gets interesting. I did see the Mothman, and that's how I know it's not. So I'll tell that story. So in 2016, I was over at my best friend's house. We were doing adult activities. We made some pot brownies, and we were just hanging out. And
my girlfriend loves edibles. Good for you, pot brownies. I
Yeah.
like that attitude. Sorry, go ahead. I digress. You got me with the weed.
That's okay. That's okay. We're in Ohio, so we are only medically legal, not recreationally. So if we want edibles, we have to make our own or buy them from someone. But anyway,
That's fucking awesome. That's cool.
yeah. So we were partaking. We were just having a best friend's night, a sleepover, and so at the end of the night, things start calming down. I always like to mention the pot brownies, and I'll get to that in a moment. But things are calming down, and I'm going to bed. I'm falling asleep on our couch. It's probably about 2:30 in the morning. It's like between 2 and 3, and all of a sudden I start freaking out. I start kind of just not feeling great. I was having a great time, but I was not anymore. And I just kind of attributed it to it. I'm high, right? Just freaking out because I'm really high. But then I'm looking at the corner of a room, and she had this big TV cabinet, right? And it was just kind of sat in the corner, and I'm looking up at the top of it, and just trying to kind of focus on something. And while I'm looking over there, something starts forming in the room, and it was very wild. First it's like a head, and this is just kind of like a black figure. Not really. There's no details to it, but there's like a head that starts forming. And then there are arms, and they're growing out into over the top of the room, the ceiling. But they weren't arms. They started growing downwards into the room. They were wings, right? And at that point, I got the fuck up, and I went and I woke her up. I was very scared. And I woke her up, and she just kind of laughed. She was like, "Oh, you're high. This is hilarious. You're fine."
No, you ain't that high. No way.
No. Exactly. And listen, I've done lots of drugs in my life, lots of them. And I've never hallucinated off of marijuana. At that time, I was a regular user. It's not like this was unbeknownst to me. You don't hallucinate off of weed. And even when you do things like mushrooms or acid, you still don't hallucinate like that. You don't.
No.
And,
that's a wise tale. No,
and,
I took acid in the 90s, and I've done shrooms and shit. And you can see things, and things feel better, but you don't see full body apparitions. You don't see these fucking.
You don't.
That's a little too much.
And people that haven't done it don't understand. They don't really understand that because you're grown up and you're told, oh, you're going to see them.
Well, scare tactics. Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah. Weed was the same way. Reefer Madness. You get high and you're going to see the devil. Come on, get the fuck out of here. But anyway, I digress again.
At the time, I didn't believe in anything like that. Okay. I was very much not. I didn't believe in ghosts. I didn't believe in things that I couldn't reach out and touch. Yes, I believed in stuff like Bigfoot. Again, that's just an animal that we haven't discovered yet. That's easy. But I went to college. I went to school. I wanted to be an astrophysicist, right? I ended up dropping out and I went to marketing instead. Doesn't matter. But, I've always been very educated. I didn't believe in that stuff. And so I just never talked about it. I started doing Mothman research in 2019, completely unrelated to my own sighting. Again, this happened in 2016. It didn't hit me that that's what I saw until I had taken someone else's sighting who, guess what, took edibles, saw the Mothman outside of their hotel in Atlanta, Georgia. And it just dawned on me. I was like, holy fucking shit, I saw that. And it made so much more sense because of all the people that I talked to, that I've done with Mothman, it is a very personal experience. It doesn't matter what this thing is, what it does, and this is why I think people think he's a harbinger of doom. He's not. This is going to sound very cultish, but he's a harbinger of growth, and that's what it is. This thing changes your life completely, and it's always very personal, and everybody's got the same story that sees this thing. Their life changes, and most of the time for the better. I have yet to have anybody that ends up having a horrible life afterwards, but it just flips up, your entire world upside down. And, it makes sense when I backtrack my entire life and kind of what had started at that point in 2016, leading me up to where I am now. And it's crazy.
Wow. So yeah, this has kind of involved you your whole life. I mean, it's really been, I talk to mediums and spiritual advisors and people, and people like us, even these UFO experts and historians like me, we kind of live this shit. You're not exactly a weekend warrior. You don't just do this when you're kind of bored. You literally it's kind of your full-time life. It's not even your job, it's your life, huh?
Yeah, it's your whole life, yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that. But yeah, I mean, I saw it, and I'm still trying to work out kind of what all that means, and I probably will be forever. Again, that's a part of the personal journey. But that was one, obviously one big thing that I've encountered. Another that I'll tell real quick. I saw this with my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter. She was 9 at the time. We saw a thunder crow, and if you don't know what that is, I'm gonna tell you. So I was taking her. She had surgery. She didn't have surgery. She had a toenail removed, okay, from her foot. From her toe.
Ouch.
And she had a hangnail. So she was going for a follow-up appointment. We're going to the doctor, and we're driving down the street, and there's a big crow in the sky. It's just crow, right? But this fucking crow went to go land on a utility pole, okay? And when it tried to land on that utility pole, I noticed the wingspan of this thing was twice the length of that utility pole. You know that little T part on the pole? It was twice.
Yeah.
And
I've heard about these thunder crows, these Thunderbird type crows that,
And then it took off into the neighborhood, and I just, my daughter immediately, because I know she's unbiased, right? My daughter, she has no idea how cool I am. She thinks I'm a weirdo loser, but so
all kids do. She'll think you're cool in 10 more years when she's 20.
Right. I'm like, you have no idea. You'll learn. But, I asked her. I don't say anything to her. I'm like, what is that? What is that? Do you see that? What is that? And she's like, oh, it's a big bird. It's a big crow. It's what she said. And I didn't follow it because I'm just in my mom brain trying to get my daughter to the doctor to look at her toe, So,
oh, well, yes, exactly. You got to do priorities. You're in that mode. But the other part of you is like, let's see what this fucking bird with the wingspan of a bald eagle, 2 bald eagles, really? It's got to be, 5 feet, right?
Well, so when I looked into those utility poles, they measure anywhere between 4 and 6 feet. So if that wingspan is double that size, you're talking a crow with a wingspan of 12 foot, which isn't like crazy. Talk about Thunderbirds that are like
for a crow, it is.
But for a crow, right? There are no all black birds that have a 12-foot wingspan. They don't exist.
No, vultures don't even have a big one. No, turkey vultures don't have wingspans that big. They're big, but not like that.
Yeah,
come on,
come on, big. Yeah, you see them and you're like, oh, that's a big old bird. But yeah, I mean, this thing was huge, and I mean,
hear it take off.
It was great.
Oh my god! If you guys were outside walking its wings, you'd hear the whoosh, whoosh. I mean, that's a big wingspan. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And all right, we get some more questions in chat. Sorry, guys, I'm getting to you. Aurora joins us. Hey, Aurora and Tom McGuire, thanks for joining us, guys. Of course, Heather joined us. Bigfoot sightings here in California. Yeah, that's cool. King wants to know if you've heard of any cryptids, any sort of monsters in the Quebec area, or Aurora. That's where he's from. Right by the Niagara Falls, almost like that's out of Buffalo.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's not somewhere that I've had much time to research. I like to research where I can physically get to, and I'm in Dayton, Ohio. Yeah. So that's about a good 6 hours away from me. But, Bigfoot's big up in that area. I mean, that's your biggest one is going to be Sasquatch. I'm sure there's more. It's just, again, I haven't personally had the chance to really deep dive into it much.
Yeah, see, that's the way I am. Like, I'm a historian, and people start asking me things. They go, oh, you didn't know that? Well, I do the history of places I've gone. I'm not going to do the history of a place in fucking Indiana if I don't plan on going there. I mean, it's cool. I don't mind Indiana State Pen and all that shit, like the Axe Murder House in Iowa and Vasilla, Iowa, all that stuff. But if I'm not going there anytime, like once I go there, I'll research it. But there's so much stuff to research. You fucking come on, you can't research it all. So
I mean, yeah, just in your own backyard. You know what I mean? That's what I tell people when they're asking, hey, how do I get into this? Look at what makes your area weird. Look at what you can get to and what you can physically go and experience. And that's just kind of, I'll catalog. If there's a Mothman sighting up there, of course I'll catalog it. But I have people, I work in partnership with Tobias Whalen, who did he came out with the Lake Michigan Mothman book because he's in Wisconsin. He's over at Lake Michigan. He can investigate the Chicago Mothman sightings that have been going on. It doesn't mean that I'm not interested in it or what have you. It just means that if I need someone to investigate a sighting up there, that's who I'm going to go to investigate it because he can get to it easier than I can. And then we can share. I'm big on community. Like that's my jam. We all need to work together.
I was just going to say that's really unselfish talk there. Careful. In this field, people like to People like to just take care of themselves in this field. That's why I don't have them on as guests. I get a lot of people that most of my people are down to earth. I don't just have someone on my show because they wrote a book or they got a fucking show. I could care less. I want them because they're pure, they're real, and they live it and love it and they're the real deal. So that's what's cool about you, because just like me, I love to share info. If you can teach me something about your state, that's killer. Oh, someone got hung in your town? No shit. I didn't know that. Yeah. You know? So that's cool that you got that sort of approach to it. So you're willing to work with anybody as long as, like you say, they're respectful and they're about to do it. Then let's get it on. Let's figure it out, right?
Oh, for sure. That's what I said. People get so mad because they're like, oh, so-and-so stealing my ideas. And it's like, listen, you know what? This shit is too much for me. It's too big. It's bigger than just me. I believe that there is a science here that we do not understand. And let me tell you something about science and scientists. Yeah. Nobody makes a discovery by themselves. They make it with an entire team. And you're not going to get closer to the truth without your team. And that's what we need to have. And until we can fucking lay our arms down in this community, we're not going to get anywhere. And that's just the way it is. I pioneer the shit out of that. That's what I'm going to do with my entire life with that takes. But, you know, that's what I believe in. I'm here for the truth. And that's what it is.
I tell you, that's why kind of in Maine, I have a lot of people here, but I kind of work alone. I don't know if people just don't want to share the spotlight or if they just don't want to. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm more than willing to talk with it. There's a couple of people I do. I shouldn't say that. I got a couple of things coming up. But for the most part, it's like, I just don't get it. I mean, I guess you gotta, I don't know. It's almost like anything else, like the music scene or like anything else in high school, man. You gotta be cool to sit at the cool table. Well, fuck the fuck off, because I'm here and I got what I got. And if you don't like it, bring it. But I think we can work together. I think people can work together. You'd find a lot more than one person alone, man. Admiral Robert Perry, he founded the North Pole, but he did it with a team of Eskimos and a team of explorers. He didn't go up there by himself. Come on now. But he walked up there with 30 people, dude. No one does it alone. So that's a killer answer. We're rolling right along. Got about 20 minutes left. We can go a little bit over. I want to talk a little bit personal shit now. I want to get nothing super crazy, but just kind of some fun stuff. What's your go-to for movies? We talked a lot about horror movies with Halloween coming up. Right now, are you into the horror movie stuff? You like just plain documentaries, comedies once in a while?
Oh yeah, I'm huge into the horror movies. You know, if I'm gonna watch a movie, it's gonna be horror. I wrote for a long time. I wrote for Dark Universe Horror Database, doing retrospective reviews on. Actually, if I watch horror movies, it's like extreme, really disgusting shit. So.
Oh, let's name drop some shit. Name drop some shit. I want to hear some names. What's some of your favorites?
Oh gosh. Well, probably my favorite movie of all time is Cannibal Holocaust. I think it's a masterpiece.
Oh my God, my mom liked that movie. They tear the turtle apart in the beginning, and oh my God, the girl's on the stake with the thing goes through her. You do it comes out her mouth like Vlad the Impaler. Oh my good Lord, that's a pretty sick fucking movie, dude. Zombie apocalypse.
You know, but for the most part, if I'm going to watch one, it's going to be something like that. Some really extreme, fucked up, weird stuff. My co-host
kind of a documentary too about how this tribe lives. Really, it's kind of almost a true story, so to speak. Really,
it's pretty. Yeah, it's really neat. It was the first ever found footage film. You know, fuck the Blair Witch. There was Cannibal Holocaust way before that. But yeah.
Oh no, shit! I did not know that before Blair Witch is what 2003 maybe. I mean,
I think it was 19. Maybe it was 2000. I thought it came out in 90.
I don't remember now. Wow.
I was very young. I know that. I was born in 91, and I was a kid, and I thought that shit was real, and it scarred me forever. But
yeah, that's to say. You kind of dug it though. I was to say I remember my friend Chris, the one that first got me to smoke pot and do shots and fucking the whole nine. First take acid, the whole shit. He got me to watch Faces of Death.
Yep.
Oh boy. People blowing their brains out and jumping out of buildings and shit.
That was I'd watch with my mom. Actually, we rented it thinking it was work. And I was probably 11 or so. And like, I think about it, like my daughter's 10, dude, and I would never fucking show my daughter Faces of Death. But my mom, she works in the medical field, and she's the one that introduced me to Rotten.com. And I mean, I don't know.
Oh my God, Rotten.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, Heather's watching fucking the littlest whorehouse in Texas at 8 years old, right? So like, I mean, I don't know. Us 80s and 90s kids, man, we had a little different than we go. It's true. You're a kid now. You're like, I wouldn't show my kids Saw. And back then, back then that was that's how I got to know The Shining and Jason Voorhees. I was watching that shit at 8 years old on HBO. Sex in the City, or not Sex in the City, but Sex in the Streets. They're real sex where they talk questions. I mean, the shit that we were exposed to, man.
Yeah, I know it's a totally different world, but yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I've got the entire I've got the weirdest fucking movies. I remember when I went through my divorce, that was like one of the things I had to do was hide my movie collection, just because I knew he'd probably try to bring that up against me in court. And it's weird, but like, I mean, some of the shit that I have is pretty extreme. Nothing real or anything. I mean, Faces of Death was the most extreme, but yeah, you know, I like the hardcore stuff. I mean, of course, like, yes, Hellraiser came out today. I'm super fucking excited to watch it. I can't
the
wait
new
to watch.
Hellraiser, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it come out today, and of course Halloween next week.
There's so much that's come out in October, and that's been, you know, I watched the new Monsters. I fucking loved it. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, you better have loved it. I bought it on DVD, $14 today. I watched it on Peacock, and I went out and bought it because I met Rob Zombie in 1999. I carved a pumpkin with him before he opened up. He headlined on Halloween Day in Lewiston, Maine with Fear Factory and Monster Magnet. And he carved pumpkins. He signed my autograph. I got the poster still, and I've been a Rob Zombie fan. Lords of Salem, you name it, huh? You love it all, Rob Zombie?
There's some I don't like. You know, some of his films are odd, but you know, when he came out with House of Thousand Corpses, I loved it, and people don't like that one. And I'm like, this is like the shit that I'm here for when it comes to Rob Zombie. This is very Rob Zombie aesthetic. You know,
that's old school horror too. That's got a very much chainsaw feel.
Yes, absolutely, and I liked it, you know. But you know, some of the other stuff, his Halloween remake was okay, but the second one wasn't great. I didn't like Lords of Salem very much, but then again, I'm just not big into, like, if I do a horror movie, I'm not big into the supernatural. I'm not big into cults and, you know, things like that. I like the horror. I like the body horror. You know, I like that.
Nope. To each their own, man. I mean, I especially right now, like, I'm looking at the witchy movies, and I like, of course, Pinhead, but I'm all like you kind of. I'm all over the spectrum, because then I'll throw in Hostel or fucking Human Centipede. That's just pretty fucking wild.
That's a good family movie.
Oh, there's a movie too where I forget, Inside or something, where the girl was pregnant at the end. The girl cuts the baby out of her and walks off with the baby and leaves the mom dying on the floor. Inside or something. That was a wild movie, independent movie. But yeah, so that's cool. I mean, I dig all that shit. Of course, you know, every once in a while you got to put on a comedy, or I'll put on Anchorman or something silly.
Sure. Put your palate there.
Of course, stoner comedies like Half Baked, huh? Shit like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like a good dumb, you know, like the Seth Rogen crew. I like them. I like their dumbass movies. You know?
Yes. Sometimes brainless shit helps you. You had a shitty day, or your brain's beat from exploring or researching or what have you. You're like, throw on a mindless fucking, go ahead, make me laugh, Napoleon. Go ahead, Dynamite. Go. You know what I mean? I just don't even care. What you go to for tunes? Give me a couple bands that you've been into for your life, or the whole time. I mean, heavy, not heavy, country, whatever.
Oh, Jesus, that's hard.
Everybody gets hard on that question. Everybody says that. They go, it's hard. Give me 5 or 10, hard. Whatever.
I listen to everything. So I'll say probably, I guess we'll go top 5. Probably my number 1 is Wednesday 13. Love the man, love everything he does. He's been in multiple bands. From Murder Dolls.
Yes, Joey Jordan, rest in peace. Oh, killer. Jordan. I've been to his grave in Iowa. I've been to Des Moines. I've been to Highland Cemetery.
Man, and that just happened too, didn't it, last year?
2 years ago. 2 years ago. 2 years ago. About a year and a half ago. I went last year to Des Moines. Was going to go to the Axe Murder House in Corona. Happened there 2020.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we went to his gravesite, Highland Cemetery. I left a couple pieces, and I left a Slipknot patch I had on his grave.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, yeah, but you know, that's, gosh, ever since 2020, time like doesn't exist. So I don't even know what day it is.
But you're right. I cut you off anyway. Wednesday 13.
Wednesday 13. And then I'm going to totally jump over to something just completely different from that. Electric Six is a huge influence for me musically. It's like it's like disco funk, pop punk. It's weird.
Wow. I'm going to Google it after. Huh.
You should. I mean, if you like dancing and you just like songs about ridiculous shit, Electric Six is where it's at.
Like the Ant-Word.
Skinny Puppy is a big one. I love industrial. I like the chaos of random noise making it into music somehow.
That's killer.
Who have been jamming to recently? I've really been digging Horror Pops lately, which is just a horror punk band. I like punk a lot, and especially horror punk. I really dig that. Who else have I been listening to?
We
I don't
talking like
know.
Ice Nine Kills, Misfits, shit like that, or?
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, sometimes. It just depends. I really like obscure shit that nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah, I can dig that. I can dig that.
I just
have you ever heard of
find,
have you
okay,
ever heard of Acid Witch?
I have not.
You should check them out if you like stoner doom rock metal. They're from Detroit, Michigan, and I saw them. They played in Massachusetts, and they're all about Halloween, horror movies, witchcraft, weed, and they got a song about the Nain Rouge, the little red devil from Detroit, that kind of warns people about fear. And they say, because you mentioned earlier about Mothman being the what did you say, the bringer of doom or the foreseer? What the hell did you say?
The Harbinger of Doom.
The Harbinger of Doom. They say that in the song. They go, the Harbinger of Doom. They go, a little red dwarf dressed in black with rotting teeth and glowing eyes. And it's called the Nain Rouge, and it's about the Detroit Red Devil. You must have heard of him. They have parades every year about the Nain Rouge that brings destruction or warns people they don't know. But Acid Witch, if you ever get a chance, they got a song called Trick or Treat, Witchfinder Finder, Stone to the Grave, and that's by Jam. I really like them. And Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats is another great band. They opened up for King Diamond. I saw them in Massachusetts. What a wild fucking show that was. So that's killer. You're into some cool underground weird shit. I dig that shit. That's is that stuff that you do when you want to get prepped to go investigate or research, or just when you're chilling?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think really that just depends. Normally I do I get into so I'm a practicing witch. I'm an eclectic witch, so I don't subscribe to the ideas of paganism or Wiccanism. I just am, right? So whatever resonates with me, I just use it. So before I go out and investigate, normally I do a tarot reading. I have probably about 12 tarot decks that I use. I've got one in particular, a very specific deck, and it is cryptid themed. And I use that one for my work. And so I'll usually do a tarot reading, bust out my pendulum there, ask some questions there. I do spirit box. I'll pull out the spirit box and I'll start talking to it. I don't think a spirit box, I have very controversial views on ghosts. I don't think that ghosts are dead people. I think that hauntings are real. I think entities are real. I just don't think that they're grandpa, I don't know.
That's fair.
But I would hate to think that we die and we stay here. To me, that sounds like hell, and I'd hate that.
Purgatory.
Right. So me personally, I don't want that to be the reality. But I'll pull out the spirit box and I'll start asking it and kind of get, because, I follow, when I investigate, I do it with synchronicity. It plays a huge part in what I do. I don't choose where I go. I don't choose the things that I pick up and start investigating. The universe picks it for me. Whatever you want to call the universe, God or just whatever, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It tells me where to go. And so when I do stuff like divination, I believe that, again, it's the universe's way of telling me kind of what to look for, where I need to go, what I need to aim for, what my goals are. And I don't know, works out pretty well, I think.
Yeah, well, see, that's why I was going to say I was kind of confused, but I get what you were saying earlier. You said earlier you're not really big into the paranormal movies. And then you started saying tarot cards and the spirit box. I'm like, well, fuck, that's paranormal. But you're into paranormal in life, just not so much in movie-wise. I get you now. I kind of got confused.
I do. Okay, so again, you mentioned you were saying my time. I'm a Fordian investigator. Fordian is just a term that derives from Charles Fort, which if you're really, really into this stuff and you know your shit, you know who Charles Fort is. But if you don't know, he's one of the earliest paranormal investigators out there. And Charles Fort he looked into and cataloged all anomalous phenomena, whether it was creatures or aliens or paranormal, it didn't matter. So the umbrella term for cryptids and UFOs and the occult and paranormal is Fortean. And that's what I do. I do it all because I don't want to miss something. I want to make sure
I believe Harry Price looked up to him, and I think Hans Holzer worked with him, if I remember right.
Yep, Charles Fort is a really big influence, and I highly recommend, again, if you're somebody that hasn't heard of them, or maybe you're interested in getting into these topics, definitely look into them, because it starts there, and he said it.
Right, it's not. Go ahead.
It's
sorry.
not his. Yeah, it wasn't his job to tell you what these things were. And I say it all the time, it's not my job to tell you what exactly these things are. If I discover it, great. My job is to just take these pieces of a weird puzzle and try to put them together and hope to complete that puzzle as much as I can in my lifetime, right? That's my job. And that should be anybody's job at working in any of these fields. None of us know. None of us have the answers, and it's really pretentious for any of us to pretend that we do, because we don't.
Right? No, it's true. I mean, we're all here to learn, and the ones that are like that, because he wasn't out for fame and glory. He wasn't out to be like, oh, this and this and this and this show is bullshit. He was out for his work. He was just nose to the grindstone. He got figured out, sure, but he was not. He was modest.
These are the facts. People are reporting that this is what happened to them, and that's what it is. Is it true? I don't know. It's a great story if it isn't, but here's the information. And that's basically what you do as an investigator. It's what you should be doing as an investigator.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I mean, that's what you're supposed to be in it for, right? But I think some people have gone the other way, and they want the Hollywood bullshit. They want the Annabelle movies. They want the, and I don't know, man. I guess it's like anything else. It goes both ways or whatever. But, so I got to ask you, because, of course, I said I've lived in Maine my whole life. There's someone here in Maine that I've met a couple of times, and every time I meet him, dude, it's like my grandfather or something, like my uncle, Lauren Coleman, the owner and founder of the Cryptozoology Museum, International Cryptozoology Museum, the only one in the world. There's actually two. There's one in Bangor I need to get to, but I've been to the Portland one. Have you ever been to Maine or Portland? Have you ever met Lauren or done that?
I haven't yet. Obviously it's a big bucket list item, right? I just had over on the Wednesday show, I just had Craig Woolheater on, which he was a big influence to me as a kid. Because he started the Cryptomundo website, which is something that as a teenager, I religiously woke up every morning and checked every day. It had all this weird news in it every day. Warren Coleman, I learned from him from that website because he was a contributor to it, which of course, then I realized who he was and what he's done and, looked into his work. Obviously, yeah, he's a huge influence to me. There's a lot of things we don't agree on. I could tell you that much. And I just know that as somebody that looks into his work, but that doesn't matter to me.
Well, that's half the fun, I think, though, is debating it, too, isn't it, though? If everybody agree with us, we'd be like fucking minions, right? Half the fun is pleading your case, right?
Right, exactly. And so, obviously, again, he's somebody I would love to meet. One of my best friends, Kinsey Gleason, she worked there at the museum for a while. Nate Brislin, love him. He works there. Love Nate.
Oh, Nate. I tagged Nate in this episode. I was hoping he'd watch. I got a picture with Nate. He's such a shy little fuck, but he's great. And, of course, Gene Tewksbury. They run over there. They run the crew.
Yeah, and both of those people, I mean, they're people that are on my bucket list to meet, Nate and Gene. I mean, definitely people I've talked to on social media for years, and I just haven't had the chance to. It's, that part of it, God, it's so dang wholesome. You meet these people, especially because, when I started it, again, in 2019 and then 2020, everything shut down. And the only thing that you could do at the time was sit around on social media and talk to these people, really get to know them. And I've gotten a lot. And
watch YouTube documentaries, maybe read a book, do something. But yeah, I think honestly, that's the one good thing about Corona is that we had a lot of time to fucking research, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I got, but it was. Go ahead.
I was just saying it was fucked up, but it was a blessing, because it definitely gave me time to do what my calling, what I was meant to do. So.
Yeah, I was going to say you fit right in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I did share a picture. I want it because we got about, I don't know, technically 3 minutes. We can go about 5 or 10 over. I usually go over when the guests are talking great. And I guess I'll have to have you on the vodcast. Maybe I'll have you and Ryan come on, or I don't know, man, someone of your choosing or whatever. But I'd love to have you on my vodcast on Tuesdays where it's visual, and we'll talk again. Yeah. I did share. I want to talk real quick as we're getting towards the end of the show, which this hour flew by, and I shared a picture in chat. On Wednesdays, we talk weird, and it's cool, like an alien, there's like Mothman, some vampire teeth, and it says Craig Woolheater from Bigfoot something. The picture's it's hard to share the whole thing, but I shared your recent picture of that. Let's talk about that podcast and where people can see that and find that.
Yeah, definitely. On Wednesdays We Talk Weird is everywhere. It's the only thing that comes up when you Google on Wednesdays We Talk Weird. Again, it covers pretty much everything. Right now we've been doing guests, so we're not a guest heavy show. What I do is I let the fans pick who they want to hear on the show. So everybody that is chosen is chosen by a listener of the show. So they do have something to contribute. I do vet these people before they come on. But we cover everything. I mean, gosh, we do cryptids and aliens and the paranormal. And, we've talked about, we did an episode on Noah's Ark and the Great Flood and Nephilim. I mean, we've done episodes on just being a parent, right? Being a parent and being into this weird shit and what that's like. I had an episode, we've done true crime. I had an episode where I had a girl on who actually dated a serial killer.
No fucking way.
Oh,
really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a crazy story. I promise.
Oh, no shit. That's pretty wild.
So we've done it all. I've deep dived into my own research. We did whole episodes on the Men in Black, which is something that I research heavily. Obviously Mothman. We had Tanya Derberg, like I mentioned earlier, the Entered Cold story. She came on the show, and we did a deep dive into that topic. I mean, we've talked about everything on there, under the sun, under the weird. And then, it's very adult though. It's not a family friendly show. It's not kid friendly. I believe in connecting with people. Like all you weirdos listening to this right now, I love you. You're great, but you're already into this. You're going to be a fan of my show either way. One way or another, you're going to come and listen to it. It's the people that aren't into this shit that I want to come listen to the show. So, and I believe in connecting with people through comedy. So I like to be funny, and I like to be loose, and I just like to be who I am. Some people, the show can be controversial because we'll talk about dicks or whatever, and people get mad about that. But it doesn't from the research, right? And it shouldn't, because I'm just a person, and that's what I want people to realize, is that I'm just another person who isn't crazy, who isn't just out here spewing the melancholy doom and gloom of the spooky, scary,
Great album by Smashing Pumpkins, by the way. You know what's funny? People can talk all that shit, but what's the number one movie right now? Jeffrey Dahmer. What was his favorite snack? Pickled penises. He ate dicks, all right? So fuck off.
Right.
It's true. He had a bucket on his stove, and it's the number one series right now.
Yeah, exactly. We did a Jeffrey Dahmer episode way before the show came out. Listen to that one. That's a good one.
I would love to be a guest, dude. I've been to some crazy shit. I don't know. I know you and me are fairly new friends, but I've been to everything from H.H. Holmes' grave to the Allenstown 4 victims' gravesite, the 4 girls that were found in barrels in New Hampshire. I've been to the Boston Strangler's grave, and I choked myself on his grave. I've been to a lot of different shit. I've been to the H.H. Holmes' house in New Hampshire, where he was born and raised. The girl gave me a brick. The new owner. So I'd love to talk some crazy shit. I'm into all conspiracies, Men in Black, not the movie Men in Black with fucking Will Smith guys, the real Men in Black that really, like I said, I've been in Betty and Barney Hill's gravesite, and I've been to the house they both died in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So I love that. I've been cross country, man. I've been, the WW Pool gravesite, the Richmond Vampire in Richmond, Virginia. So I think we'd have a lot. That's killer that you're into that shit. Because like you say, you talk about serial killers. Some girl dated one. That's fucking wild.
Yeah,
so where can people find this? Is this a YouTube channel? Is this a Facebook page?
Yeah, sure. So right. So on Wednesdays We Talk Weird is on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, anywhere you get podcasts typically. It is also on YouTube under my YouTube channel, From the Ashers. But again, just type in on Wednesdays We Talk Weird. It'll pop up. And then of course, Monster Radio. You don't want to sleep on Monster Radio either. If you don't like the dick jokes and the serial killer talk, that's fine. You can listen to Monster Radio instead. We're still funny, but we have a lot less of that, and we just focus strictly on creatures over on that show. Which if that's what you're here for, then that's going to be your jam. But listen to both. I mean, why not? Right? They're great.
Your heart's big enough to fill it all in. It's all good for your heart.
Yep.
I mean, the thing is, when you're in this field, I mean, you're into this shit. No one's like, well, I'm into ghosts, but I don't really care about aliens. You're kind of, like you say, we're all kind of weirdos. We kind of love the horror movies, the heavy metal. We like the aliens. We like the unknown, the abandoned buildings. I love watching people go to exploring abandoned buildings in the woods. Different shit. We're almost running out of time. I want to ask you some quick questions that I ask every guest that are standard, which sucks. We feel like I ask you 200 more questions. What's some of your bucket list? Some of your top, I don't know, 2 or 3 places, America, worldwide, whatever. Sorry,
that I want to, or just so I want to go, or
just a place I guess you'd always been like, man. Like you said, you had a couple bucket lists, but I mean, like New Orleans, Gettysburg, Salem, Transylvania, Loch Ness.
Sure. Yeah,
Someplace you
absolutely.
got to go before you kick it.
Definitely, definitely Bluff Creek, where the Patterson Gimlin film was filmed. You know, I absolutely want to go there.
Where's that?
You know,
Bluff Creek, Georgia, right? Where's that?
No,
Bluff
California.
Creek. Oh, California. Well, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yep, right
That's
there on
right.
the E&W, right there on the border there, California, Washington. Can't remember exactly where, but yeah, Bluff Creek is definitely one. I mean, right where you're at, right there, New England. I've never been to the New England area yet. I just haven't had a reason to. You know, and there's definitely a lot of weird stuff up there I'd like to look into. Yeah, Champ. I'd like to go check out Lake Champlain. I'd like to check out the Bridgewater Triangle. And just to see Cryptozoology Museum, you know, would be neat.
And of course, like you say, you can meet Nate, you can meet Gene, you can meet Lauren, you can meet me and Heather. So you have a bucket list of people you can meet. Down. You know, I'd show you around. There's a witch's grave in York. She's got a 3-inch tall cement slab above her grave with trinkets on it, and her face is on the grave. She's Mary Nason of York. She was an herbalist and an exorcist, and she would put above her grave. So different shit. Maine's got a lot. I can show you Stephen King's house. I went to recently to the Pet Cemetery house where Gage was killed and shit. Went there. Oh yeah, you have a blast. I mean, Salem, cryptozoology. Maine's got mermaid sightings, Viking ships. I think. Okay, real quick too. I know we gotta go. King, give me 5 more minutes. We'll go 5 more minutes. I gotta ask you where you stand on one of my favorites, who people say is not a cryptid at all. They say it's a demon. The Wendigo. The Wendigo. Where do you stand on the Wendigo? One of Stephen King's favorite from Maine, and all around, really.
I gotta be careful because Ryan's listening, and he'll be mad at me if I don't answer this right. But no, so yeah, I don't think that the Wendigo is a cryptid. It's definitely something a lot more supernatural. Demon, I don't know.
I hear that a lot. It's a native demon. It's a native type. Yeah, I hear that.
Well, so there are stories of people seeing these pale humanoids, and I know Ryan mentioned that last week, that the Wendigo doesn't actually look like the stag-headed thing. It looks like a human, just like a starved human. And, I think that is its own creature. What that creature is, it's definitely not an animal. It's probably some type of, maybe some type of ultra-terrestrial, some type of interdimensional creature of some sort, whether it be nefarious or not. It definitely could be. I mean, there's evil humans, right? Why not evil interdimensional creatures? I'm sure they're out there. It's got a lot more supernatural elements to it than it does actual. I don't think there's any Wendigo nests out there. I don't think you're going to find one. You can look, but I wouldn't advise it.
You're big into thinking these creatures don't hang around like fucking giant turkeys or roosters, I guess, as it were. I guess you want to say. Man, I could dive into another hour. We're going to get going soon. Is there anything else that I missed where people can find you? You want to name drop TikTok, Instagram, anything like that?
Sure. You guys can add me on Facebook, Ashley Hilt. I'm the one with the red hair. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at It's Ashers with a Z. Again, also the one with the red hair, very recognizable. That's it, really. I'm friendly. I'm nice. You can talk to me. It's fine.
You're not afraid to speak your opinion, but you're very cool and you're very much into the cryptozoology type stuff. So shit, this hour flew by. I'm gonna cough. Excuse me, I took a big hit. I should have waited. Thank you so much, Ashley Hilt, for being my guest. This hard copy will be up tomorrow. I'll have it on Anchor FM. It'll be on Spotify, all the local stuff, iTunes, Mixler. I'll have it on the Facebook page, Historically Haunted Show, and it'll be on my YouTube channel, Historically Haunted. Please subscribe, guys. I'm at like 180 getting there. And also Adam the Historian Ghost Hunter. All separate words on YouTube. I just passed 150. I got some more. I went to that, like I said, that Plain Site. And also, please, real quick, I'm going to selfishly name drop me for the Face of Horror competition. I've made it to the top 5. And if you get first place, basically, like, you get to do a magazine shoot with Kane Hodder, who played Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th. You get to stay in the Buffalo Bill house from Silence of the Lambs. You get to get some other shit, and you get like $13,000. And I'm beating people. Oh, you get a one free vote a day. Please vote for me. I know it's a selfish plug, but I got to do it. Sorry, Ashley. I got to steal it for a second. I really want to win this fucking thing. There's like 5 days left. I'm 5th place, and I'm trying to get 4 spots. It's right on my page. You see me in front of WWE Pool, the Richmond Vampire's grave. So, Ashley, shit, it's been a pleasure. We'll have to talk on the vodcast. Like I said, we'll get to Ryan on or maybe that other guy you were talking about, or all three of you. I'm going to have like 4 or 5 guests, and we'll talk cryptids. Maybe I can get Lauren. I'll try to talk to Lauren Coleman, get him on, and scare the shit out of you guys.
Cool.
It's been a blast, dude. Seriously, this hour flew by, and you fucking are full of knowledge in the field. You kind of, I'm not going to say I had low expectations, but you blew me away. I have so much more questions. So I'd love to have you on. My season 1 ends on Halloween. So maybe, like, I don't know, if you're free, like January, February or something, I can get you back on and maybe get you on the vodcast before then, on the visual podcast on Tuesdays.
Get a hold of me. I'll do what.
Awesome. Heather Witch and Caminiti, my girl, says, awesome show. Ashley, Mr. Historian, thanks to all the guests, too, in chat. Have a great night, everyone. Everybody says, have a great show. What a great show. Tom, Ryan, Nicholas, everybody, Charles Fulton. Thank you guys for listening. She better answer this right, he said earlier, Ryan T. Wonder what question it is that I asked you when he said you better answer right.
The Wendigo.
The Wendigo. Oh, yeah, that's right, because he's all about it. Yep. So like I told him, man, you ever come to Maine, I'd love to fucking be in heaven. I'd love to show you around. We'll get baked and go check out some shit. There's plenty of sites. We love chilling with people as long as they're cool with us and shit like that. So yeah, Ashley Hilt, you were an amazing guest. Thank you so much. We got to go on Paranormal King Radio Network, Historically Haunted Show. And yeah, anything else you're going to say, Ashley?
I think that's all.
Oh, you're awesome. I'll say good night, and I'm going to say good night and see you guys next week.
Good night.
Night, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Hello, this is Adam Began, and I'm the host of Historically Haunted Show, where I talk about some very rare historical and haunted locations that I visited. I also interview some of the very best in the paranormal and cryptozoology field. So tune in every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Paranormal King Radio Network. And prepare to be educated about the unknown.